Hi, Dr. Symeon Rodger here. Welcome to the fourth in our five-part series about why your New Year's resolutions are destined to fail. So yesterday, we looked at the third reason why your resolutions are destined to fail. And that third one was hidden assumptions that you have. Hidden assumptions about your world, about yourself, and how those mesh together. So hopefully you've taken that to heart and you're looking at some ways to mitigate those assumptions. Now, the fourth reason, which we're getting into today, is all about poor execution. Yes, poor execution, call it execution, implementation, whatever you want to call it. But the simple fact is, more dreams die in the execution phase than anywhere else. This is what happens. And it happens for a number of reasons. Why is it we do not execute properly on our goals and our ambitions? What is it that we get wrong? Well, there are several things. One is we choose the wrong activities. Yes, we actually focus on the wrong activities, believe it or not. And it's very easy to do things that are in our comfort zones and to stay very busy at those, but they don't yield results, right? It's often the 20% of things that are outside our comfort zones that yield the 80% of results. And yet we want to focus on things that make us feel better because we're busy. Well, we live in a culture of busyness, right? And this is one of the problems. So it's not just poor discernment on our part. We live in a culture that rewards busyness and mistakes it for productivity. So your ability to determine what to focus on, your ability to determine what actually is important versus urgent and what is important in terms of getting results will do more for you in this coming year than any other skill set. So that's the first thing, focusing on the wrong activities. Make sure you know what you're focusing on and you know why you're focusing on those activities. The second thing is we have terrible work habits. We really do. Most people today have absolutely terrible work habits. And it amazes me, go into organizations and you think, why does it take so long for things to get done? Why do things move at such a glacial pace? It's incredible, but there are reasons for this. I mean, if you think about it, first of all, we live in a generation of distraction, right? I think you'll agree with that. People are glued to their phones, they're glued to YouTube, they're glued to TikTok, they're glued to their emails, they're glued to whatever, any type of distraction. So we have all this input, all of these sources of distraction ready to give us a dopamine release if we'll just tune into them, and that's a huge problem. And beyond that, of course, beyond that, there's simply the fact that we don't work without interruption. We're constantly interrupting ourselves. So if you can, anything you can do to incorporate the following habit is going to make a huge difference. What is that habit? The habit is simply this. When you decide to work, put your head down and work. Just work on something with total focus, even for a short period of time. It doesn't really matter how long, but train your brain so that you can focus. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere. You'll be constantly distracted, and that's just the way it is. So do that, and you will be in the 1% of top productive people in the world today. Because with everybody moving so slowly, it's not hard to move fast. Now, the third reason why we implement poorly, if you will, is simply this. We have poor use of time. We don't use the time that we have adequately. Everybody has the same 24 hours, so why is it a few people get a lot done and most people really don't? Well, part of it, of course, is that we generally don't understand how time works. So if you, without getting into all the details about mastering time, which we can save for some other time, literally some other video, it's very simple. One of the easiest ways to crack this one is to do this. When you're about to start something, let's say you're about to start something on your computer, because that's where most people work, go and Google online stopwatch. Online stopwatch. Pull it up and then set it, right? Just set that stopwatch or set the countdown timer. It doesn't really matter which one you want, but compete against yourself and compete against the clock. Make everything a race to get something done. So if you're focusing on a particular priority, decide how long that's going to take and then race against the clock. So that's one thing you can do, and it makes it fun, it makes it enjoyable, and it gives you an impetus to stay on track. And again, it'll help that other thing we mentioned earlier, which is to stay focused, right? In addition to that, Use small time segments. Don't just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to work at this. No. Estimate how much time something is going to take. And if it's a very large task, break it down and say, how much is this segment going to take? And then break it down into smaller time segments. My advice to you at the beginning, if you're new at this, don't go past 30 minutes. Really, don't go past 30 minutes. Schedule it in an even tighter time frame if you want to. That's okay too. The most important thing is to train your brain neurologically to focus so you can keep focusing, you can keep working, and so you will not get stuck. You will not get distracted. You want to be able to focus. Okay, so use short time segments, take a quick break, come back, use another short time segment. You'll get a whole lot more done. And the third thing you can do to master time, be unavailable. Simply be unavailable. What this means is be unavailable to people who want to impose their agenda rather on you, right? People who want to take up your time, whether it's with their problems or useless conversation or just having a chit chat, whatever it is, you want to be unavailable for these people. You absolutely need to be. When you're working, you are unavailable. Get that through your head. And what that can mean? It can mean scheduling on your calendar times when you're deliberately unavailable. It will mean basically not answering your phone, not answering emails, not getting distracted by anything again. And if you're working in a place where you're in danger of just someone physically coming up to you, then try to make it clear to those people in certain time frames you're unavailable unless it's a dire emergency. Okay, so that's what you really want to do. Focus. Now, if you can do that, you're going to be a long way toward making this coming year an incredible year. So that's it for segment 4. And tune in tomorrow. We're going to talk about the 5th and final reason why your New Year's resolutions are destined to fail. I'm Dr. Symeon Rodger. We'll see you for segment 5 tomorrow.